won't live in that racist country for even $1 a month. It's a well-known fact that Egypt is racist. Bro, trying to figure out why you and the rest of color keep moving to places you're not wanted. Every time I see these videos, the negative outweighs the positive. Shalom, it's No Limit Eddie, a 24-year-old American who's been living in Egypt for the last 3 years, and I'm documenting every moment here on this YouTube channel. If that's interesting to you, drop a like on today's video so YouTube recommends you more content you'll love. What is it like being black in Egypt? Let's go to my apartment and talk about it. How did I end up in Egypt? So it's late 2020, I'm 21 years old at the time, and you guys know what was happening in the world around that time, and I wasn't buying it for a second, okay? I wanted to move to a place that was free. They didn't put up with all these garbage restrictions. Initially, I moved to the country of Tanzania. Shout out to Magufuli, he wasn't going for it. And so, yes, initially I moved there. And things were honestly great, they were fantastic until they really weren't. All right, I ended up running into a snag there where getting a lawful and legal visa was quite a challenge. And so I needed to go to another country that had laws that were very good, very easy for Americans to be able to get. And so on top of my list was Egypt and the Gambia. Whenever I thought about the country, I thought about ancient Egypt, right? I thought about deserts and sand and sphinx and mummies. And so when I first decided I was going to leave Tanzania, you know, of course, I was in that country for months, and so I was surrounded. My social circle was made up of Pan-Africanists, okay? And they were, of course, very negative towards Egypt. Don't go to Egypt, go anywhere but Egypt. You know, they're gonna spit on you and beat you with a bat and light you on fire, right? It was so much negative talk around the country of Egypt and how racist and how much they hated black people there. So, you know, that was all in my mind. And so when I first came to Egypt, I was very, very nervous. I was expecting something crazy to happen, but hoping everything turned out fine. So like, I get off the plane and then I get into the city to where my Airbnb is, and I need to get water. And so I walk to like a bodega, and a bodega is like what we would call a corner store in the States, a liquor store in the States, but they don't sell liquor here. But I walk into a bodega to go ahead and get some water. And at this time, like I have on like an airport fit, my hair is uncombed, my beard is not cut, you know, like I have a backpack on, and I think I have a hoodie on, so I'm looking pretty rough. I'm looking pretty shady by you know, European standards as I kind of go into the store. And so as I'm walking in the store, the guy who's running it is reading the newspaper, and like, yeah, they still read the newspaper here in Egypt. And so he's like reading the newspaper and all that type of stuff. And so I'm nervous, he's looking at the dude. I'm used to going to stores in LA, right? Where there's usually Chinese owned, and they're watching you, as we call like right on right. They're like on you from the time you go in to the time you go out to make sure you don't steal. So like I'm expecting, you know, him to be on the same type of time or worse, right? So as I'm walking in the store, I'm nervously looking at him. I'm like, is he gonna chase me out to stores? Is he gonna like the way that the country's being sold? I'm like, something's crazy about to happen here, but I'm just hoping nothing happens, but it might. And you know, I walk in the store, I get my stuff, I'm doing my whole shopping. The entire time, dude never looks up from the newspaper, right? I get my items, put on the checkout counter, check out. He gives me the price. I'm like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure he overcharged me. I'm pretty sure he charged me a gringo price, you know what I mean, or like a tourist price, you know. But then, as I went to every other bodega, every other supermarket, even like big chain supermarkets, the price that dude charged me was the same price at the local bodegas, at the supermarkets, and everything. And so that was like my first interaction, my first experience with Egypt that made me say, okay, let me come to this country with an open mind. Because when I was in LA, I've had significantly worse experiences dealing with people who run stores. When I was in Tanzania, I had significantly worse experiences with people overcharging me. Like everywhere I went in this whole Kumbaya Tanzania land, everywhere I went, they were trying to bleed me for as much money as they humanly could the moment they heard me speak and open my mouth. And so for me to be in this place that is supposedly the most racist, the most hateful towards black, the most disrespectful, the most, you know, all these different things, yet I'm being treated better than I was in my home city of LA. I'm being charged a fair price, which I couldn't get a fair shake in Tanzania. Maybe the stuff that I heard wasn't true.
Cap.
So now let's go into different aspects of my life being a black American here in Egypt. Making friends. Making friends in Egypt is so easy. I'm going to go out here and say, out of the countries that I've been to, Uganda and Egypt has the most friendly people, okay? You can go up to anybody and start talking to them and have a good time. In Egypt, what I'll say too, just add on to that, Egyptians are very, very helpful. If you go to an Egyptian and ask them for help, if they speak English, they're going to help you. If they don't speak English, you're going to find someone who does speak English to help you out. Whether they got to send their children to this store, to that store, to this apartment to go get that local English speaker that they know. Whether they have to pick up the phone and call somebody and then give you the phone and have them translate. Regardless, one thing I can say about the Egyptians is they will not rest until they help you. Even just to elaborate on that, I have a bike here. When I say a bike, some people think I actually drive a pedal bike. No, a motorcycle, okay? It has a motor in there. I've had it break down a few times, right? I had to break down a few times where something broke or something happened and I'm on the side of the road, like, out of commission. Somebody will pull over, an Egyptian will pull over, right? Hop out their car, go in the back of their trunk, open it up, get out a set of tools, fix my bike. This happened 2 times. Fix my bike. Hey, you good? Make sure it starts selling. Okay, good. Go ahead and take it to the shop or do this here, and give me advice what to do next, and then drive off. Right? Didn't ask me for any money, didn't ask me for anything, just literally helped me out and then kept going. This happened twice, right? With me personally and once with my sister. And so, I say all this to say, even me myself in the States, I wouldn't pull over to help somebody. Because in my mind, you have all that paranoia of, it's a kidnapping. Am I about to pull over and then somebody runs out and I got guns with me and they're getting in my car and driving off with it? There's always these different scenarios that you have to run through and play through in your head, so you can't even be kind, you can't even be courteous to people in the States anymore. And that doesn't really exist here in Egypt. And so, again, I'm a black man, okay? They see me on the side of the road, they're pulling over and helping me out. So Egyptians are very friendly. I've been invited to people's houses for tea, invited to people's houses to play PlayStation. I have friends, that now run shops and they give me the best prices and everything. I have a very strong name in my city as a strong negotiator. I have videos on my channel of me negotiating. You should definitely check them out.
Egyptian pound.
Egyptian pound.
This 400.
400.
Polarized and first copy.
No. I'm looking to spend 30 Egyptian pounds.
How much?
30. What is it like doing business in Egypt? For me, when I talk about doing business, I'm talking about the small things that I've done. Renting an apartment, buying a motorcycle, having things custom made for you, things like that. So far, in my 3 years of living in Egypt, conducting business has been fantastically easy. Egyptians like making money. And therefore, they prioritize the business model that will give them the most money. And by that, I mean they love repeat customers. They love long-term relationships. And so when you get to Egypt, when you do business in Egypt, they do good business so that you can continue to return again and again and again, because they love long-term revenue. They love long-term, deals. And so I found that when you come to Egypt and you start to build relationships, if you keep building a relationship and keep nourishing them, you end up getting the better end of the deal each and every time. So like my experience being black, however, right? I've never had an experience where I'm like, they refuse to rent to me because I'm black. Or I never had an experience to where I'm going to make a deal with someone and then they don't hold up their end of the bargain because they know, oh, he's black and we can get away with this and we can do this. No, I haven't experienced any of that. I'm almost tempted to say it's actually advantageous in my case scenario. A portion of that may be because I am an American, but a large portion of that just happens to do with me being a foreigner, okay? So yeah, that's my experience doing business. Now, what about dealing with the federales, aka the government? What's it like dealing with the Egyptian government? So I don't care where you are in the world, no one loves dealing with the government. You're waiting in long lines, you're spending money, it's the whole thing, right? So the same thing is true here in Egypt, all right? Now, generally, the people in Egypt that work in the government offices, they have an okay attitude, sometimes positive, but usually just okay, similar to what you experience in the States. I can't say that I've had any racist experience in any government building, either in America or here in Egypt. Okay, like when I was in America and I went to the DMV, I didn't feel like, oh, I'm black, so they're gonna put my application to the bottom, or I'm black, so they're gonna do this to me or that to me. When I had to get my passport, I had to go to the register office to get like my original birth certificate. I didn't feel like anybody was hindering me because I was black, and so I didn't feel racism in the States, so I don't feel racism here either when I'm dealing with the people in Egypt. When it comes to government buildings and government offices, they just do their job and I go on about my day. And so like my mindset around that too, I guess while I'm speaking on this, is that racism only has as much power over you as you let it, right? If you put yourself in a position where people can be racist to you, but they still have to respect you and do business with you, then you begin to experience racism less and less, right? Because if you're dealing with someone who's a racist and they're your boss, well, now you're really going to feel the effects of it, okay? But if you're dealing with someone racist, but now you guys are on an equal level, equal playing field, or you have a position of power above them, well, how important is that person's racism? Not very. Now, speaking of that, if you guys want to know how do I make money while living abroad, here's a quick message for you. By the way, it's Eddie here. It's super loud. I'm in the airport right now, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick message. For those of you guys who are like, okay, I'm in the airport, like I said. How do you travel? How do you do the things that you're doing without ever talking about going to work, without ever talking about having to clock in or clock out for your job or have to ask for time off? Well, I created a free training. It's 10 minutes long and it's in the description of my video. If you always wanted to know how to make money online, well, now is a really good time to learn. Click the link in my description and put your name and email in and watch the free training. When it comes to the police, though, there is a very big difference. In the USA, United States of America, there is tension between police and civilians. Never once have I felt like I was in danger when dealing with the police in any country that I've been to outside of the state. I've been stopped here by the police multiple times as I drive a motorcycle, and the police here carry AK-47s strapped across their body, and they're just walking with them out in the open. But never once have I felt like my life was in danger. I've always felt calm when dealing with the local Egyptian police. Because a large portion of the reason why is the police here don't have that level of ego, that let me show you who's boss, shut up and listen to me, you know, like type of ego that most police officers in the States have, right? They don't feel that level of entitlement. They feel still as if they are members of the community, that they're here to do good and to do service to their country. Right? And I think a portion of that has to do with the homogenous society, right? Like when you live in a society of your people, you're more likely to be kind. And this honestly is one of the big reasons I'm glad I left the US, because before I left, I was starting to have a lot of run-ins with the police. Right? Now again, I don't have any criminal record, no arrest, no nothing like that. But before I left, I got a car, and it was kind of a nice car. I had a wrap on it and things like that. And it was causing me to have a lot of interaction with the police. Like when I was driving my 2008 Civic, when I was driving my sister's Kia Forte, I had 0 pullovers within years of driving. But then I get my own car. That's my second car. But get my car that's a little bit nicer, and just left and right, I was starting to have interaction with them. And I just knew, okay, there's only a certain amount of times that I'm going to get away with these incidences before they escalate. Right, because every time they have an ego and they're putting their hands on them, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't like the way this is heading. I need to leave this place, and I'm so glad I did, because the police overseas, they don't have a vendetta against you, and it's beautiful to be around. All right. With that being said, that is my experience. What it's like being black in Egypt. Everyone has their own experience, but that's been mine. I'm grateful to be here in the country of Egypt. I love the country of Egypt. It is a place that I can say, there's a lot of overblown hype around the dangers of it, a lot of overblown hype around the racism of it. That's just my personal belief set. Other than that though, guys, like today's video if you haven't already. See you guys in the next one. Y'all willing. Shalom.